Thank you.
Okay, it is 9 a.m. and it's May 19th, 2026, and we'll convene the meeting of the Stewart County Board of Commissioners. The Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall as required, and copies are available upon request. Please stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Make sure your phones are silent. Hein? Here. Zabraki?
Here.
McCarrick?
Here.
Schmeeding?
Here.
Amick? Here. Next to item number 3, which is approving minutes from May 5th, 2026. If there are no changes, we'll take a motion.
I will move that we approve the minutes of May 5th, 2026.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Hein? Yes.
Zabraki?
Yes.
Schmeeding?
Yes.
McCarrick?
Yes.
Amick?
Yes. 5-4-0 opposed to approving minutes from May 5th. Item number 4 is claims for the period through May 8th, 2026. If there's no discussion, we'll take a motion.
I'll move we approve claims through May 8, 2026.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Zabraki?
Yes.
Hines?
Yes.
McCarrick?
Yes.
Schmeeding?
Yes.
Amick?
Yes. Just want to note it is May, and there was a lot of expenditures. So just throwing that out there.
We all know why.
5-4-0 opposed to approving claims through May 8th, 2026. Item number 5 is our consent agenda, and that consists of the county clerk fee report for April 2026 in the amount of $43,285.86. Clerk of the district court fee report for April 2026 in the amount of $13,596.59. Surplus property disposal request for county attorney. Surplus property disposal request for sheriff. Utility permit for Windstream to bore 540 feet of fiber optic cable along south side of Isaac Walton Road in section 28, township 11 north, range 3 east of the 6 p.m. And utility permit for Spectrum to move cable north of 2581 Bluff Road in the southeast quarter of section 15, township 11, range 3 east of the 6 p.m. And lastly, a surplus property disposal request for the road department. Take a motion for the consent agenda.
I will move that we approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second? Please call the roll.
Hein? Yes. Schmeeding?
Yes.
McCarrick?
Yes.
Zabraki?
Yes.
Amick?
Yes. 5-4-0 opposed to approving a consent agenda. Go to item number 6, which is anyone from the public wish to speak? Okay. Anyone from the public? Any organizations? Saying no organizations. Officials?
Morning.
Morning, John.
Will you move that microphone closer to you? Thanks, John.
Okay, we've had a lot of interviews. I'd say probably in the last 2 weeks, we've probably had 8 to 10 interviews. Had a new guy start yesterday for heavy equipment. He originally applied for the road construction crew, didn't have the experience, so we offered him one on heavy equipment so that way he can get enough experience if he wanted to move over to that. We've put other offers out there. Nobody's calling back. We had one guy who was very interested, but he was going to take a $9 pay cut, but he was also driving to Omaha, but he lived in Friend. So, had several farmers call in about some ditches that are full and spots where it would run over the road is coming out of their fields, filling up the ditch. And so we're getting some of those spots cleaned out and fixed up. Currently, we are removing the old fence of a missile base because I'm pretty sure most of you have seen where we had the old fence up closer to the building. We're getting all that ripped out right now. Since everything's too wet to do anything on the roads, just getting everything pulled out so that way we can get it all cleaned up and take it in for scrap. All of our trees have been planted and fabriced around them. Had about 178 trees that we got planted, so this rain was pretty beneficial for them because it was looking pretty rough. I mean, we we're doing what we can to water them, but it's still pretty hard to keep them watered. So we had a construction company that's doing the airport rehab project in Lincoln reach out to us. They have got a bunch of fill material that was underneath the concrete that they can no longer use or reuse. They've got about 500,000 tons of this. It's not suitable for the road tops, but it's suitable for fill material, like if we're packing around culverts, stuff like that. And it's only $4 a ton. So something that we're looking at. We're also going to redo our gravel pads where we stockpile our gravel because they retain a lot of water. So our thought was we're going to bring some of this material in, redo these pads and stiffen it up because this construction company is using this material as their haul road that's seeing 200 plus big trucks a day, and it's not leaving a divot into it. So we want to redo our pads, get it to where it sheds water off and our trucks aren't having issues. And then we've got grader training coming up the end of June. So we've already got the retainer put out to Mr. Jackson, and I reached out to Jody with the state, and I haven't heard anything back from her if I filled out the reimbursement form correctly. I sent it to her, like I filled it out how I thought it should have been filled out, sent it off to her, and I'm like, hey, can you double check this before I sign it? I haven't heard anything back.
Did you try and call her?
I have not.
When did you send it?
Oh, that's probably been 2-3 weeks ago.
Will you just reply again to just follow
Oh,
up
yeah,
and
yeah, I
CC
will.
me, and then I'll keep it here for you too.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I filled it out correctly.
Yeah, I got it.
Because their reimbursement form is totally different compared to what ours is. So, but that's all I have. Unless you guys have any questions.
How much of that fill are you looking to buy potentially? I don't think you want all of it, do you?
Oh no, we don't want to get all 500,000
I was
tons.
going to say you don't have room for that.
No, we don't have any room for that.
You got a number in mind as to what you might want?
Initially, we're looking at about 2,000, because that would help us fix up our pads and then have a little bit of a stockpile. We'll kind of see how much we're going to use on the pads themselves, because we're going to scarify everything, get it all worked into that material, and then pack it the best we can with our roller and the heavy equipment. We were just going to start with 2,000, kind of see where that goes.
Do you have that in your budget now?
No, we're waiting until the end of the budget cycle.
So this is going to be for the next budget year?
Yes.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other officials? Range, anyone? Mike, you're here? Anything? Okay, all right. Go to item number 7, which is commissioner reports. We're going to start with you.
We received another opioid settlement payment for $1,253.47. So that's logged into the spreadsheet. I did send an email to Mary Dolan and Cindy Wolverton to get them connected so that they can begin working on a training for the community and the 4-H clubs in regard to cleaning the headstones. I did ask that they keep Misty and I in the loop as to how that proceeds so that we, 1, are aware of it, and 2, that we can share out that information as well. I received a call regarding gravel being dumped and pushed into the ditch near Cordova. I talked to John and Trevor and they got that taken care of. We did receive an award letter from HUD related to the $1 million appropriation that we received for the paving of 420th Road. So I forwarded that information on to Heidi. So I'm sure that we'll be getting more information from this as this progresses. Did you have a question? Okay. I did receive a call. I've received actually several calls about the bridge and the road changes on Raymond Road outside of Staplehurst. I did talk to John and Trevor yesterday. The same individual has contacted me multiple times and has also contacted them multiple times. And they did go over the plans again with him and explained what had been done and what is being done. And it sounded like it alleviated its concerns again. He continues to have kind of the same concerns. I did participate in the interviews for the Aging Services Program Manager position, and a recommendation has been made from the hiring committee. That individual will be starting on the 22nd of May, and then once Allison um, resigns from her position officially, then that individual will come forward and then be appointed by the board at that time. I've also been working on employee evaluations, so I will have mine to the board by tomorrow, which is what was discussed a couple of weeks ago. I also received communication from Laura McDougall regarding LB 759, which has to do with pool inspections is another unfunded mandate from the state. So previously the state was required to do pool inspections, but now they've shifted that to the counties and the cities and the villages. And so it does say within the new law that the health department can do that. So Four Corners is looking at being able to do that. I did have Barb take a look at the regulations, and as long as the regulations stay the same as what the state says, then she didn't feel like there needed to be any adaptations or have like a full legal review. So I did share that information with Four Corners. We have a meeting coming up in June, so we'll be discussing that further, and I'll bring more information forward to the board on that. The county in and of itself does not have any pools, so it's mostly the cities and then the villages that will have to be responsible for working with likely Four Corners to be able to do that within Seward County. I also, in regard to the camera systems for the jail and the Justice Center, we've not used within the last budget any public safety exceptions. And so I did send an email to Candace Meredith yesterday to see if we could potentially use public safety exception within this next budget. What she sent to me was that it would essentially be the budget authority that would put that information in, but it does sound like it would qualify as it falls under NRS 13-320, as it falls under crime prevention and offender detention. So that would be an exception basically to the budget. So we can put it in the budget, but it's not considered part of our cap because we're capped now, not lit.
Outside.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's automatically deducted from where we can go next year.
Yep. Yeah. But my understanding, and I think we need to, and I'd like to have further discussions with Candace about it. But my understanding is I don't think it'll necessarily hinder us next year. So, but I want to have confirmation of that too. But just so the board is aware, that's all I have.
Thank you, Reagan. Daryl?
Okay, I have in a PACE board meeting, PACE is currently running at a $206,000 deficit. Projections are that they will make that up by the end of the budget year, as they are awaiting some billed services that have not hit the books yet. So the idea here is that they'll more than likely break even and maybe even have a small surplus by the end of the year. As you know, PACE and Region 5 share the same boards, to include the exec board. So I had kind of an exec board meeting after the PACE meeting to discuss the review process for the director. We did complete a review, and that will be brought forward to the full board for review and approval in June. Following the PACE meeting, I had a Region 5 meeting. One nice thing is that Region 5 was voted as one of the best places in Lincoln to work. So they're touting that rather heavily. Also, as part of the exec process, we did a review with the director for Region 5, and that review will also be brought forward at the next Region 5 board meeting in June for full board consideration. Attended the NERMA HR roundtable, and I continue to work with the Sheriff's Department on inventories. Sheriff Vance, I owe Deputy Dickman an apology. I had him scheduled for 1800 on Sunday. My daughter showed up with my grandson, and I totally forgot the appointment. I'll make it up to him, and I'll get it figured out down the road. That's all I got.
Thank you, Daryl. All right, we'll suspend commissioner reports and go to our 9:15 time to item, which is the service agreement and options for different providers for Justice Center, Detention Center cameras.
Okay.
And just to help, one of you might use the lapel and one use the microphone, just so we make sure that we. So, yep, just flip that switch on top, Sarah. Or maybe Andrew, you two can share the. That way. You and Mike. You just really have to talk into. Yeah. Can you hear me? No. Mm-mm. They're touchy. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so brought this to the board because we needed to have discussion. We're all aware of the current camera situation at the jail and the lack of reliability that it has produced here in the last few months. I did reach out to ECC, which is a distributor for systems for jails and other correctional facilities. Had a conversation with Kevin Lotus, and during that conversation, um, the main thing that we talked about is how would it integrate with our current door locks and our current communication or intercoms. And the answer was it was unknown. So currently, um, I was gone for a week there, so I was going to try to set up a time to get in there and have them do a assessment of the jail and the camera systems. That did not happen. Um, there's with everything that's went on and the conversation that I had with Mr. Lotus, I didn't feel like it was going to be productive to continue this in a manner that it was going to stretch our time from moving forward to get these camera systems up and going, or I should say, getting a contract signed with Accurate to make sure that we can get on the books and move forward with getting our camera system um, up and going. So in that regards, I'm not a IT person, so I don't know all the questions to ask. Just my gut tells me that um, we're going to be, it'll be the same as what we're dealing with right now with Accurate as far as time frame. Uh, Accurate had given us kind of a quote of 7 to 9 months once the contract was signed. ECC was in that same ballpark, but they don't really know our system. They don't know what they would have to replace. More than likely, it would be all new cabling, all new everything. And they did not be able, they could not tell me how long that process would take. So I had conversations with Sarah, I had conversations with Sheriff Vance, and decided that maybe we should just look at Accurate. And this whole situation is nothing that this board did. It's nothing that this administration at the jail or sheriff's department did. This is something that should have been looked at years ago when the system was put in place. That how do we go about what is the life's expectancy of this system, and how do we move forward as far as budgeting for that and making sure that we're not in this situation. Right now, the cameras are working. They're not working like they're supposed to be working, but we're getting by. And I know $339,000 is a lot of money for Accurate to sign this contract with them. But I also know that if our system goes down, we're looking at $70,000, $80,000 moving our detainees to other facilities. So in essence of time, that is where I'm at. Like I said, I'm not an IT person. I don't understand all this stuff. Um, but that's it. Sarah, if you had anything, or Andrew,
I don't think this is working either. No, thank you. You would kind of explain things pretty well. I, again, have concerns. My biggest concern is not only am I not an IT expert or that, but the compatibility of our intercoms and our doors is very important. We still have a contract with Accurate. So that contract agreement essentially is just for our service agreement. That is the monthly pay we pay every 3 years. We have that in place. So that would still be in place, but this is to replace the camera and equipment without them really giving us a yes. We could go to another company with all certainty. That's not what they're telling me. They're giving the answer maybe. And to me, maybe is a big concern when we don't know enough about the hardware, the software. We don't know enough about the system that another company could come in and replace all the cables and everything we have in place. The bid is on the high end. Um, Again, we can assume that it's going to be every dollar of that. I just don't have enough experience to say another company could come in and do a better job. And we don't have any experts within the department to really say otherwise as well. So this is a system that should have been replaced a couple of years ago. It's been kind of, uh, we've had problems with it for, I would say, a good 2 years off and on. So we're kind of at the end of the life with here. And so getting a plan in place is important, especially if they're telling us it's going to be 7 to 10 months. Let's hope it isn't 7 to 10 months. So we don't have really a plan B in place. So yeah, I'm requesting that the Accurate bid get signed. There were a couple of things Barb and I discussed that she had questions about. They did resend me another contract agreement. Some of it was just regarding the insurance instead of, there's just a couple typos that were caught by Barb. So they did send us another one to make those corrections.
Is that what we have in the scan?
That is the one you guys have is not the one I just sent Barb actually this morning because it was instead of a comma, there's a dot. Instead of 2 million, it says 2,000. So fortunately, Barb had her readers on because I totally missed that as well. So that was one of the insurance clauses that was missed. And then Barb also has questions about the payment and how it's going to get paid. After speaking with Jeremy, he seems very, there's some wiggle room on how it's going to get paid. If we want to do one full payment, if we want to spread it out over 2 years, depending on when we start this project. If it falls between 2 different fiscal years, we could do 2 different payments as well. So they're they're willing to work with us when it comes to those things. The most important thing is that it's completely paid off before the final installation's done.
So we're gonna get to that item that we're talking
Yeah.
specifically about the contract, but
Mhm.
I just want to hear from anybody else if they have anything to say about different providers, the item that we're looking at.
All right, so I'll say for the record to read this in. If we don't do this, our jail is not going to be in compliance at some point with jail standards. And we won't be PREA compliant any longer. So that's not good for us monetarily. We either shift prisoners or we lose out on federal dollars if we're holding federal prisoners, correct?
Correct. And my intent is to keep safe keeps and hold for other counties. And so at this point, I don't know if it'd be beneficial for us to hold safe keeps without having a system that, um, could be faulty.
So you're not holding safe keeps then?
We're not.
And I guess I'll direct this to Barb and say, do we need to put this out for a bid, or because we're basically renewing the contract? Do we have to go out for a bid, or do we just continue on the path we're on?
You can go ahead and continue. It's essentially proprietary, the compatibility. So, and since it's just extending what we have, you don't need to go out for it.
Thank you.
And I see where you guys are coming from. You're also familiar with this company and this program. So
We are.
So there's a certain level of, not having to learn something new, right? My concern is that, and this is just my perception on what has happened over the last several months with Accurate. I feel like they've kind of hogtied us in a way, because they were sending us stuff that was not actually working. And I find that really frustrating because you actually went down how many times prior to like this latest install of equipment and stuff? I mean, how many times were you going down?
I could say they've tried at least 6, 7 different things, such as replacing cables or equipment or computers or monitors or anything like that. But I can't completely put this on Accurate. We don't have an IT that's available 24/7. We don't have an expertise to have the that can say what Accurate needs. They're communicating with someone we source out for our IT department. So that individual was brand new to Soren Group. So, I think there's a lot of things that were factors in this. I can't completely put this on Accurate. They knew the facts of what we were struggling with. I think they were trying to save us the less headache. They were trying to maybe put Band-Aids on something that they knew were more drastic than what was in place. But I don't believe that they were trying to. I think they were trying to work with us on the equipment we have. They pushed through everything they could with working with what we have in place until it wasn't. So the final step was basically, I think that the wording was basically, this should be enough to get you by. So why they didn't do that in the beginning, I don't know. I don't know if it's a fallout between what IT was trying to explain to them on their side, what they were seeing. Accurate did call in. We have our own staff trying to help them out and troubleshoot over the phone. I can tell you that none of our staff have enough experience with Accurate or IT to make any to spend that much time on the phone with someone is one thing. So
Yeah.
it was a very staff intensive to just handle these 6 or 7 troubleshoots that we were
So
dealing with.
To be fair though, our IT is available 24 hours a day. And and it sounded like, obviously I only came into this later on,
Yeah.
and hopefully was able to help by escalating this. But I think in the future with any IT issues, if it is problematic and they're expecting you guys to be doing that, I would hope that you
Yeah.
will reach out to Scott or somebody on the board and ask for that additional assistance, because that is what we pay for. We do pay for an outside company, but they are there 24 hours a day to make sure that we are taken care of.
Mhm.
So just in the future,
Mhm.
I didn't know that the person that was helping you originally was new. I only
Mhm.
knew at the end that
Yep,
we had
they were
escalated
new,
it.
and again, I hate to say that, but we get a little fight. But, it's not their equipment.
No, it's not. And I
So,
know they were
this
new.
is all new. You got a new employee, but you also have new equipment that he's supposed to work with that, is difficult for anyone. So,
So I realized that they kept sending things out and we were on those calls with them and, oh yes, this is gonna work, for sure it's gonna work, for sure it's gonna work, and then it wouldn't work, which was super frustrating. They'd be like 100% it's gonna work, and then 0% that didn't
Yes.
work. But I know during the call that we had with them, one of the questions that I asked was related to that service agreement. So if
Mhm.
the cabling or any of it, if the new stuff that is installed does not work, are they going to utilize do we get 3 visits a year, the IT visit?
Yeah. What is our?
Currently two.
I say it's 2.
The new one is maybe
Program
3.
we have, yes.
Yeah, that's
We
what I
can
thought.
always bump up. It's
Yeah.
impossible. to Bump up.
So I think that was my concern. Okay, they install it, doesn't work, we're having the same issues, then they're going to utilize all of those. But they did say that there was a 1-year warranty on all of that, so at least it would be 1 year to work it out. So
Yeah, that is correct. And also, they did say the our service agreement that we have currently in place It would be revised, so there would be some discount on that because we'd have new equipment as well. So that our service agreement could potentially lower.
I think a lot of what comes down to right now is, do we want to move forward with something that we already have experience with? We have some of the system currently in place, or do we want to go to a completely different system to where we're going to have to go out for bid? They're going to have to come in, do an assessment on the facility, which is going to take weeks. And do we have weeks to wait? And that's kind of where I'm coming from. I don't believe we have the weeks to wait. I understand, like I said, if we do come back, when we come back to the accurate agreement, I understand it's a lot of money, but I also understand that if we don't do something, we're kicking the can down the road right now.
Well, just to be fair though, my understanding is that's what today's meeting was supposed to do. My understanding when this came before 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, was that that's what we were going to do. Information was going to be provided from another company, and then that company was going to come in and they were going to do an assessment to actually see if it was even probable. So I thought that's what was happening today because that was what my understanding was. Now,
Well,
I'm not faulting anybody, but at the same time, that's what I thought today was, where we were going to have a conversation about potential options. And I understand that, like it's a failing system, and basically they've put it back together, patched it up as best they can so that it's as operational as it is. Um, it's just, my understanding was is that that's what today was going to be.
Ray and I did reach out to ECC and
Uh-huh.
I got an email back, but nothing getting a meeting set up.
And I thought Scott was working on that too.
I did visit with ECC, and I did tell you about that. And like I said, like I explained before, the conversation I had did not lead me into a feeling that yes, this would be moving right along. That this was going to take weeks to even get them there, to do the assessment, to do a estimate, and then at that point in time, and I should have reached out to Barb. I don't know if we needed more than just one. If we needed 3 estimates, if we went down that road.
You would need sealed bids.
Okay.
The amount, you need sealed bids.
Okay.
So what this comes down to is a sense of urgency. And as it stands now, it's an urgent situation.
Right.
And I'm hearing ECC really wasn't willing to respond on that kind of a basis. They didn't recognize the urgency in the whole thing. They were just kind of putting the thing along. We'll get to you when we can type of thing, right?
They're really, yeah, I mean, that would be a way of saying it. And I don't want to speak bad about them because they did provide information. They did talk to me about this. But as far as I had no definite answers as far as, well, is this going to be cheaper than what we're currently doing? I told them how many bed unit we had. They worked with smaller. They've worked with larger. I know they're working with another county right now. And then that time frame is extended out quite a ways, but from what they originally told them. So unfortunately, I agree with you, Reagan. We're kind of at the mercy of Accurate at this point, and I don't disagree with you. Where I struggle is the what if. I don't know where we're at as far as the unknown. Okay, can we make this system compatible with our doors? Can we make it compatible with our intercoms? Nobody seems to know.
Well, and I mean, I would say that at this point, it's, I would say it's probably a moot point because, that, and I don't know if we want to move into the next agenda item with the contract, but
If we're done with discussing other options, then yes, I think we would move to our next agenda item, which is a contract agreement with Accurate Controls Inc. for VMS system and security control computer upgrade for the detention center. And Barb has reviewed this. Sounds like she has a new contract. That's what we would, did you want to print it?
Yes, I'm gonna according.
Okay. I do have a question about that, about the contract. Can I ask that? Is that okay? Okay. When we're talking about the 339,000, when we were talking to them initially, that was like maximum 339,000. So we can assume, yes, that it would be everything. But that would be if they had to come in and do all of the cabling and everything else, rip everything out and replace everything 100% new, right?
Correct.
But there is some belief based on what they said that they will be able to reuse some of the cabling with the new system. Am I understanding that right?
Correct.
as
Okay.
well as the keypads and stuff for all the doors.
Yeah. So the 339 would be replacing all of that 100%. Is that what I'm understanding?
But this isn't just the jail, this is the entire justice center,
Right.
correct?
Yes, I understand. But the contractor says that's the amount. It doesn't say up to that amount. So that's what my question is. Just to be clear.
It does say subject to additions and deductions for changes in the work as may
It
be
does.
agreed upon and make payment in accordance with the payment schedule.
It does say that. I just want to clarify that that resonates with the up to part.
Give me your question again. I mean, I understand if it says up to, we're kind of at whatever it is. I'd expect to pay $339,300, but
To Reagan's point, it says subject to additional additions and deductions for changes in the work as may be agreed upon and make payment in accordance with the payment schedule. So what I'm saying is the way that I'm reading this is we're paying this no matter what. Like that's what we're paying. That is what that is why I'm pointing out that we may not need all of that, but we're basically agreeing to pay that. That's what my question is.
yeah, I mean,
I think that they can't specifically say a number.
I know that. Yeah, and I totally agree with that. That's completely fine. But I'm saying we can assume that probably it won't be that, and I don't know that I'm reading that as up to. So that's why I'm asking. Is it we should just assume we're paying this regardless? I mean, that's I think where we're at.
I would, yes.
But what I'm saying is by signing this, even if they don't replace all of that, are we still paying the 339?
I would read that as that is what they think it's going to be. But if you don't have to not do some of the cabling or whatever, then they will deduct that from the price.
And then as far as the payment schedule goes, I mean, I know that so I don't have what the adjusted contract says. So
It doesn't make any changes on the payment.
on the payment,
Sarah, is that something that you're going to work out with them, or are they going to invoice?
They said it depends on when we start this project. So if this falls, let's just say this falls in December, they're gonna need some initial cost that needs to be paid. And then since we're gonna fall into their fiscal year next year, we could pay the next, remaining balance. But overall, it has to be paid off before the final project. So we could spread it over essentially potentially two fiscal years. There, specifically Jeremy said there'd be some wiggle room on how the payment plan was made. You have a couple options spreading out 2 fiscal years if that's where the project falls, or make one payment. So there's no specifics on it, and he wasn't going to be specific in the payment schedule as well.
okay, so that leads me to some questions about like reading the the scope of services. So how long are they anticipating that it's going to take them to do this? Because, and I understand what you're saying in regard to the payment, but, when it talks about the payment in and of itself, it's pretty clear as to what the expectation is. So once they start the project, once the equipment stuff is in, how long is it going to take them to complete it?
Say 7 to 9 months.
So it's going to be 7 to 9 months to get the equipment, and then it's going to be an additional 7 to 9 months.
No,
Total
No,
project scope.
Total
They
project.
didn't give us like a breakdown of what was gonna happen each month by month, but they said they thought that it would be completed within 7 to 9 months.
a lot of the time is just in programming the equipment once they get it in.
Sure.
And they program that offsite and then bring it in.
Okay.
Um,
So 7 to 9 months once the contract is signed to
Yeah.
be fully operational.
Yes.
That's in one, that would be in the next fiscal year then.
That's what I'm calling it too, yes. So they don't know when our fiscal year starts, right? So, yeah, that'd be one fiscal year.
So according to the contract, it's three separate payments of 30% of labor and materials for proposed project. So if we sign the contract today, are we putting down 30% today? Or is that something we can push till July 1st?
Doesn't say that we have to do it today, it just says 3 separate payments, not to exceed 35 days of the entire work.
It would be nice if we could do that, and we could put it in next year and budget.
I think that's what it's saying we can do.
Is that the way you read that, Barb?
Well, it didn't have anything. So what I would suggest is that if you sign the agreement, then you work something out with him regarding payment and then put it in an email to
Okay.
him, just saying something like, to confirm our discussion, here's how we're paying it. It doesn't say that we're putting down 30% today. So
Yeah.
I
Right.
would assume, who knows, but I would assume that July 1st, that's not that far away, would be okay.
So on a budgetary basis, I was under the impression that we were going to pay for this with inheritance money. Now I'm hearing that maybe this is something we can actually budget for with our next budget cycle. Is that your intention, is to budget this or not?
It would be an exception, so we would have to, and we still need to explore that, so it's either going to be an exception or inheritance, one of the two.
Okay.
And we'll have to work with you on that, Sarah. Okay, any other questions about this? Do we want to make a motion for the agreement?
Mike, you have something you want to add?
Yes, sir. I was just gonna say that I know we had discussed it a little bit. Sarah and I discussed it. I've discussed it with a couple commissioners that if we could create a fund for the outside prisoner boarding to put in that fund for the Justice Center maintenance, that outside prisoner boarding, if it was part of it was put in that fund, it could pay for anything with the Justice Center that needed to be done using the outside prisoner boarding money instead of budget money.
I think that was kind of the discussion. I think the two of you are gonna work to add a line next year for that, to be able, like a savings account or a sinking fund essentially for that. Thank you. Any other discussion on this? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we sign the contract agreement with Accurate Controls for the VMS system and security control computer upgrade for the detention center.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
McCarrick,
Yes.
Zabraki,
Yes.
Schmeeding,
Yes.
Hein,
Yes.
Ame.
Yes, that's 5-4-0 opposed to signing the contract agreement with Accurate Controls Inc. for VMS system and security control computer upgrade for detention center. Next item is a service subscription agreement with Edema for live scan service.
Our Edemia Life Skin Services is up. We have to re-sign for the next 5 years, 5-year contract, just means we have ended. We have been given a couple different options on how to proceed with the contract we have in place. We could potentially buy out
The equipment we have. With that being said, the last 2 years of the maintenance agreement, that software would be expired. So after the 7 years, we would not be able to do any more upgrades on the current system that we have in place. We have options to buy a whole new hardware, software, live scan, service option, or we could lease. And The leasing agreement would be spread out over 5 years. And with that, we would get a new optical scanner, PC monitor, all new equipment. So all this, again, this equipment we have is over 10 years old. I believe this was either given to us by a grant by State Patrol in 2016. If I recall, this was equipment that, again, like everything else, the hardware, software needs to be upgraded, and we are at the end of being able to work with the system that we have.
What's your recommendation on which way to go with this?
I'm suggesting leasing.
And that spreads it over 5 years, so that would
Correct.
be the
That'd be
information
option
on the
2.
second page.
Yeah. Yes, so it'd be
$48,000.
yes, and unfortunately, what we're paying now, it's gone up quite a bit. It's 3 times higher than what our current service agreement is. That could be based off the equipment that we were given 10 years ago. That could be based off the service agreement that was in place at that time. This is all new equipment. This is all, and to be clear, this is for fingerprint machine. It's very important. We work with State Patrol on this. So yeah, I'm requesting this to be signed on the leasing extension.
Having come from an era where I have rolled ink fingerprint cards,
I knew you were going to say this, Daryl.
I don't want to see you guys have to go back to doing that.
I
So,
appreciate that. That is why I didn't bring up option 4, which was go away with it.
Do you have this in your budget to cover the cost? Because the contract, it says it actually expires at the end of May. So
Yeah,
you would
yes, the
essentially-
payment has been paid for this year. So yeah, so this agreement would have to probably be an additional cost into the budget.
Can you cover that additional cost though in your current budget if you have to make that payment?
So
So you've made the
IDEMAs have been paid for the year.
okay.
So this wouldn't be take place until, well, we have an extension till June, if that makes sense. We asked for this extension to be carried out through June, even though the contract says May. So with that being said, do I have the additional difference? I can't say for certain.
but to her point, if we carry this through June, does the next payment be made in July with the new budget? I guess that's where I'm going with this. Do we
Yeah.
make the next payment out of the new budget, or do we have to find?
I
some-
believe it'd be July 1st.
Okay.
This contract would go through June, yes.
Right. Do we want to make a motion?
I would move to accept the service agreement with IDM for live scan services, accepting the option for leasing the equipment in the amount of $48,000 to be spread over 5 years.
Second.
Thank you. Please call roll.
Zabrowski,
Yes,
Hein,
Yes.
Schmeeding,
Yes.
Pecaric,
Yes.
Yes. It's 5-4 opposed to signing the service agreement with IDEMA for live scan service. We are going to circle back to our 9:30 timed item and move to our 9:45 timed item, which is an executive session for personnel.
Thank
Do we
you.
have a motion to go into executive session?
Thank you.
I will move to go into executive session, closed session, to receive advice from legal counsel on a personnel matter for the protection of the public interest.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Zabrowski,
Yes.
Hein,
Yes.
Pecaric,
Yes.
Schmeeding.
Yes, that's 5-4 opposed to going into executive session. We'll have the board and legal.
Okay, so I'm gonna try this.
This is yours, 3.
No, it's not coming back. Oh, there it is. I'm ready.
Alright. Time is 10:46 a.m. and we need a motion to come out of executive session.
Move to come out of executive session at 10:47 a.m.
Second.
First and second, please call roll.
Zabraki,
Yes.
Pakaric,
Yes.
Hein,
Yes.
Schmeeding,
Yes.
Amick.
Yes. 5-0 opposed, so coming out of executive session at 10:47 a.m. with personnel discussed and no decisions were made. Go back to our 9:30 time to items, which is authorizing the highway superintendent to seek bids for rock and gravel.
Sorry, my timing was terrible. That was not good.
It's okay. Yeah, we're just seeking approval from the board to go out for bids for gravel. We're hoping that we can get some bids this year for rock. Right? We'll see. It usually hasn't in years past. But, I guess I'm not sure if you guys even know what our quantities that we typically go after.
No.
So for missile base, we typically go after 15,000 ton up there. Garland is 15,000, and then Grover we put 10,000. That's about the max we can put down at Grover at that site.
Where are we at right now on each of those?
We're totally out. With one of the contracts that we've got, they actually went over. They went over about 2,000, and then the other two contracts they haven't fulfilled those yet, but they still have a month and a half.
Right.
So,
But you go after the bids that we're anticipating we'll be dealing with the same pits, or are there some other options out there?
we're hoping that we get some more options. Because one of them that we approved for last year is Southwest Gravel, which they're out of, I think it's Gibbon, or at least that area out west, because they're hauling this, they like to haul this way because they drop off, they got rocks in back. So it works out great.
Mhm.
So we ended up doing 10,000 with them last year, whereas the year prior, we only did 5.
Are we getting good quality gravel from them?
Pretty much the same as what we're getting from Columbus or from the other pits. that we get.
I'm just worried about how much sand we get out of this, that's all.
No, it's kind of hit and miss on it. Some loads will be a little sandier than others. It all depends on if they hit a vein within those pits. But I've been pretty pleased with what we've got when getting the larger stones. I know the ones up in Columbus, they've opened up a couple new pits, so we're gonna see what we're getting for quality out of that.
Fair enough.
John, are you thinking the second then? Second?
Actually June 9th.
June 9th, okay.
So the tonnage that you mentioned, the 15, 10, and 15, that is just for gravel?
Yes.
Okay. And then what are you looking at for rock then? Is that a separate bid?
Yeah, it's a separate bid sheet that we will send out.
Okay.
I believe on that one, we're only looking for maybe 5,000. But in years past, we've never gotten anybody to commit to like actually hauling in or anything. It's usually our guys going down and pick it up because it's a lot cheaper for us to go pick it up than to have hauled in. I mean, we're looking at about $21 a ton compared to 35 a ton. So it adds up pretty quick.
That's taking into account all employee and maintenance costs and everything else. Okay.
Any other questions? Choose for the 9th at 9:15.
9:15.
Move to authorize the highway superintendent to seek bids for rock and gravel.
Second.
Zabrowski,
Yes,
Hein,
Yes.
McCarrick,
Yes.
Schmeeding,
Yes.
Amen.
Yes, that's 540 opposed to authorizing Kelly superintendent to bid for gravel. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Go back to our untyped items. We're on item number 7, which is commissioner reports. I think it's to me. First, I know you all probably voted, so I just wanted to give a shout out publicly to our poll workers, thanks to ours in Milford, but I know you had to find a lot this year, so
We
shout
did.
out to you too, Randy. I think it went really well. I participated in the aging service director interviews with Reagan. As she said, the committee made a recommendation, and she gave you all the dates already, so I won't cover those again. I did touch base with Marvin Planning again regarding the training for the Planning Commission to get an actual dollar amount what that would cost. Each time they come, there's some expenses with that. Obviously, they're coming around and they're preparing stuff. So each time it would be about $500. So we're thinking 1 hour would be $500 each time. Last night at the Planning Commission, they did vote to proceed with at least 2 hours of training. One from Marvin and one from the county attorney's office is what they asked for. So I think that's a start. And I think the discussion was if they felt like they needed more, that they would request more. But right now, it's my understanding they're requesting 1 and 1. Also, I followed up on our DMV closures. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've gotten several complaints about the DMV being closed on Wednesdays. It's been closed like 6 times since the beginning of the year. So I reached out to Senator Hughes' office, and I worked with Jake to get all of the notifications. It sounds like they said they were down like 16 examiners across the state. And the question was, well, there's none of those posted, but they're not posted because they're currently in training. So it is a temporary issue. And they hope that once they complete that training, we won't have that issue anymore. I had 3 separate meetings for SCCDP. One was the executive committee meeting. The second one was our personnel and policy subcommittee meeting. And then last night we had the board meeting. We just got a lot of updates from the staff. Again, they are sort of flying solo right now. Megan Taylor has really stepped in, and she's offering them a lot of support. So I appreciate her for doing that. We did have a discussion last night about options for our CEO search. So we'll see what comes of that, and then maybe we will have something to announce at a later time. Also, as you guys know, there was a lot of discussion about solid waste management. I spent a lot of time working on a special meeting, and then obviously canceling that meeting last week because they decided to take it elsewhere. So I'm happy about that. During the aging services interviews, Allison was in the courthouse, and she had a really good point, and that is she went to go use the restroom downstairs, the women's restroom, the public restroom, and it is not accessible. And so I reached out to Eric, and I just said, either we need to make the private staff bathroom a handicap bathroom, or we need to address the situation in the bathroom. The women's bathroom has had one stall closed for as long as I can ever remember. I think I've tried to use that closed stall like 100 times by accident. Eric is storing things in there. There's a water heater, he said, and then he's storing things in there. So I think he's looking at ideas, either one, again, making the staff bathroom the handicap bathroom, or figuring out what we need to do to be more accessible moving forward. I think that's important. So in both the men's and the women's bathroom. And I appreciate Allison for pointing out several things to us over the years. I think it's really important that we try to make ourselves as accessible as possible. Had another committee meeting for our Safe Streets and Roads project. That was between the roads department, myself, JEO, and then John Kisby was on with Southeast Community College. So we reviewed a lot of the data and a lot of the traffic counts, both pedestrian traffic counts and then the regular traffic counts. There is a lot more traffic through there than I think any of us actually even envisioned, and a lot of really good discussion. So our next meeting will be next month. So we meet monthly, and hopefully we'll have some more updates there. If you're interested in any of the counts or any of that information, let me know, and I'll send you a link to the Google Drive so you can see what they did. They sat out there for a full day.
I'd like to see those.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. Absolutely. Yep. All right. And then yesterday we received a letter from Department of Transportation saying that we did not accurately report pass-through dollars in our audit. And so I reached out, Jake forwarded it to me. I reached out to Martin to ask him. Martin said that the numbers, the dollars were there in the audit. They just were coded. He said, sorry, Brandon, either the treasurer's office or the clerk's office coded them incorrectly. They coded federal dollars as state dollars, and there needs to be, I think we're using the same code for federal and state. And so Martin says we need to split those and use one code for federal, one code for state. The letter from DOT requested a response on how we were going to correct that. And obviously the correction would be making sure that we're separating those moving forward. So I asked for Jake and Brandy to work on the response, kind of detailing that, and then we'll bring that letter to the board before we send it back.
I have no idea.
I know. I think some of that happened before you were clerk too. So, and then I've also been working on evals like everybody else. I'll have those to you tomorrow. And then last night was planning commission. A lot of really good discussion. Barb, I sent you an email related to LB 663 and the conditional use process. So they did not make a decision last night on a conditional use permit because the individual had not submitted all of the required information for the application. So according to 663, the planning commission has 30 days from receiving the complete application. So if you were to say submit that information today or this week, they would be able to review it again in time for next month's meeting. But the way that I'm reading that says if they don't make a decision, it just automatically comes to this board. The other part of that is it says pretty clearly in there that you can only make a decision based off of what the regulations say, and so what those regulations are today. So there's a lot of people in the room last night that were upset about things that have been going on there, things that are increasing, loud noises at night, fires, safety hazards. And the way that I'm understanding it is based on what that is saying, that they can't take that into consideration. So I asked for your interpretation on that so I can report back to the planning commission, because that's really difficult. It's difficult to have the public come forward with concerns and then basically a piece of legislature that I think was not intended for that. I think it was intended more for ag producers to have that effect. So I'm just looking for some clarification on that. And that's it for me. Okay.
Okay. Today, we have a visitors meeting later this afternoon at the Civic Center. Then I also have a 4th of July committee meeting this week coming up, and so they are going to finalize everything for the 4th of July, and I don't believe there's any hiccups. Everything's going good. Also down the road here, I have the Blue Valley meeting coming up, and so I'll attend that. And I'd like to take this time to congratulate our new commissioners, John Probst and Jonathan Curtis. So welcome to the board. I know you'll do a good job, and so I just wanted to make that public, that announce that those are our new winners. And so that's probably all I have.
Okay. Scott?
Okay, I had a couple meetings. One, the Veteran Service Committee. We met on, what day was that? Last Wednesday. And had a really good meeting. I thought there's a lot of good discussion that came about on a lot of different topics. They'd given some reports, and I wrote down some, so I'll just kind of relay those a little bit to you. Beaver Crossing, they did a walking tacos, and they've been asked to do it again. And I don't know, I don't remember what the particulars were, but evidently it was pretty successful, so they want to do it again. In Seward, there's going to be like a traveling wall, and I forgot to write the date down, so I can't pass that along. They are putting up flags tomorrow, I believe, for Memorial Day weekend. They had mentioned that the Seward VFW is doing the Sunday breakfast every third Sunday, I believe, of the month. And right now, the county Veterans Aid, they have $2,230 in their account.
Can you say that number again too?
The county, the Veterans Aid account has $2,230. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. In February, they lost 3 members. I think that was specifically just in the Beaver area, and then an additional 3 throughout Seward County. One of the changes for the office will be Jaleesa. Jaleesa is now going to have Mondays off instead of Fridays. We did talk about bylaws, and I think that the conversation at the end of the conversation was, yep, I think we should probably do that. Now the conversation was, well, how do we start? So I did find the national, and maybe I can meet with Jeff afterwards and get some more information. But as far as there are bylaws at the national level and for county VSOs. So I think it's one of those deals where if we can give them a little help in establishing the bylaws, I think that'd be really good for when people come onto the board that are new, so that they know what to expect. Because I think right now there's not, they really don't know what it is that their position inquires or entails. There will be 2. We need to fill 2 positions by the end of June. I believe it's June 26th.
It's on the agenda for next week.
So, planning and zoning meeting last night. Very well attended, as Misty pointed out. There were a lot of people expressing their concern about a salvage yard for a conditional use permit. And I think some of the information that didn't get shared very well was the intent of the new purchaser as far as what they inherited and what they want to do. So this will be coming back to the Planning and Zoning Commission to dive deeper into it. And like Misty pointed out, we're going to be on shot clock now. So things have got to happen. And Misty also pointed out that that new bill does say you have to follow the regulations. So it takes out the human element. And I guess my response to that is, and we've seen this here in the last how many months on different conditional use permits, then what's the use of even having a planning and zoning committee? And it seems like it's kind of coming down to that. So another one of the things that we talked about last night was training. And I think that hopefully once we get going on the training, the commissioners at the planning level will see that there's a lot of value to that. So I'm excited to see what direction that goes. I've had some calls with, as we had on the agenda before for the jail, calls with the sheriff and Sarah as far as what we're going to do with the cameras. So worked on that, and then calls for zoning also. There's had quite a few different conversations with Marissa about different things that are going on in zoning. And I think that's about it.
Thank you, Scott. The one thing that neither of us mentioned about planning commission is we did vote to push forward the regulations to public hearing with the
Current draft regulations.
Yes, but they did make the suggested change about surety bond instead of cash escrow. And I know that Marissa sent you an email. They made the request that those bonds be from Nebraska, so Nebraska bonds. They just, and I don't know the answer if that's legal or not, so I know she asked you that. Okay. All right.
Can I add my report.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody's noticed that BNSF is doing quite a bit of work on the lines going through. There are several areas within my district alone. I know that there are a lot of other areas that they are redoing crossings, but they did not work in conjunction with the roads department. So they did not contact the Seward County Roads Department to let them know that they would be closing some of our roads. And they did set up some detours without our knowledge. I did speak to John and Trevor and Heidi, and they do finally have a contact from that person, but it was also affecting bus routes because the schools were not notified also that those roads were going to be closed, so it affected their routes. We do have a current list now of what crossings they are repairing, and so John has sent that information to Marty with the bus barn as well, so that he is aware of those crossings. But just something to be mindful of. And John, they do now have the contact, so they're hoping that in the future there will be communications with that individual about upcoming crossing closures.
Do you know who that contact is?
I don't.
So I will check with them. If it's not Jeff Davis, I think we need to reach out to him. And I'm happy to send that email, and I'd like to CC Jody and Senator Fisher and Senator Flood, or Congressman Flood's office, because they've been working with us on BNSF stuff. So I think it's important.
It is.
They're all-
It is important, and
Yeah.
you know, it's really frustrating for the bus drivers, but it's also frustrating for the roads department when they're getting phone calls and they are not aware that, you know, BNSF has closed some of our roads, and then they're detouring people in other areas without any coordination with the county. So I just think that there's some room for some partnership there.
I do also have a contact with BNSF for track ministers, so I can share that as well.
Yeah, Jeff Davis is the, I don't know, his title, VP of Government Affairs or something like that. But I think it's important to share it with everybody, so, yeah. Okay, any other commissioner report? Not, we'll go to our last item, which is the agenda for May 26, 2026.
Gosh, I'm not even being loud. That's better. Is that better?
Yeah.
I think that's better. So right now we have Veteran of the Month, and the only other thing we have is the conditional use permit. But I talked to Marissa when you were in executive session, and she kind of told me about what was going on, and that she had reached out to Barb. She just wanted to know if we leave that on there. The Planning Commission hasn't given a recommendation. So I don't know if you want to leave that on there or if she's going to reschedule that. I mean, I can leave it on there for now, but do we leave it on? Okay. Right now I have that at 9:30, and that's all I have so far besides Veteran of the Month. Oh, I also have appoint 2 members to the Veteran Service Committee, untimed. Do you want me to time that? Or does it need to be timed?
Anything else to add? Okay, then we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Will we adjourn the May 19, 2026 Board of Commissioners meeting at 11:09 a.m.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Zabraki,
Yes.
Hein,
Yes.
Kakarek,
Yes.
Schmeeding,
Yes.
Yes, that's 5-4-0 opposed to adjourning the meeting.